Is your family tree a mystery? Are you fascinated by genealogy? Well, hip hip hooray, let's talk DNA with Julie.
The truth is in your genes.
In Cutoff Genes.
Welcome to Cutoff Genes, the podcast that helps you find your truth using nothing but DNA. I'm Julie Dixon Jackson, and I'm a genetic genealogist, henceforth known as a Gen Genie.
And I'm Richard Castle, the producer, co-host, jingle writer, and what else? That's about it.
That's all you are.
Happy to be here. How you doing, Julie?
I am doing well, and you?
I'm doing well. I feel like I did a good deed today.
What'd you do?
I actually, I saved a dog who was off leash that was lost. You know, I was walking my dog this morning, and I saw this huge dog just
by itself?
walking down the street by itself. And I'm looking around for its owner. And, you know, of course, my little dog is a little aggressive when he sees big dogs.
Indeed.
So I thought, how am I going to get near this big dog and try to save him from, you know, running across the street or whatever? But somehow I was able to get close enough. I actually followed the dog for about 3 blocks before
I've done that before.
Yeah, before I could catch him. And I'm on foot, and that dog is moving fast.
Sure.
And you know, I'm like, buddy, come on, you can pee later.
What kind of dog was it?
You know, I don't know. It was a like maybe a sheepdog type of.
Ooh.
It was beautiful. Gigantic.
Like an Old English sheepdog?
No, I'm terrible at knowing the
Okay.
breeds, but it had long hair. The hair was so long that I couldn't tell if it was a boy or a girl because, like, the
Yes.
undercarriage was completely covered. You
Understood. I know that works.
Yeah, but so when I finally caught up to the dog, I was in. You know, I thought, well, what am I going to do? How am I going to get some? I didn't have an additional leash or whatever, and I saw this woman in her house, and I started waving at her to have her come out and help me. And she was super sweet. And I mean, talk about good neighbors. And I don't know this woman. I just happened to be in front of her house. And I told her, you know, could you see if because the dog had a collar and tags.
Oh, okay.
And he was even wearing like a cute little scarf. So this was not a dog that was abandoned or anything. This is
He had a cute little scarf, so he had been recently groomed.
Yes, yes. And I
what
mean, the
that
dog
says.
looked like he was in good health, or she was in good health.
Yeah.
And it was not a situation where it was just a stray
Yeah,
dog.
yeah. It had just
and
gone.
I just felt so bad for the dog, and I know personally that if my dog ran off, I would be
It's terrifying.
yeah,
It
terrified
happens.
and
It's happened several
heartbroken.
times to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, what do you do? You know. So she brought the dog in the house and said, "Oh, I'm going to put you in the backyard and give you some water, and
sweet
then
baby.
call your owner." So,
good.
I mean, so I guess I did a good deed by following it, but I'm not the one who ended up calling the parents. You know.
Yeah, but you're the one who burned the most calories.
Exactly, and that's
Yeah.
all that matters.
That really is all that matters. Indeed. That's good. Hey, my husband was listening to the podcast for the first time in a long time, so he was way behind.
Good for him.
But while he was having a walk, he was having a little walk.
What is he, English?
Yes, he was having a walk.
Yeah.
Sometimes I revert back to
then
that.
a spot of tea.
And a walk. And he was listening, and he felt the need to call me in the moment about something that he needed to clarify for me.
Oh, is this a correction?
Yes,
or-
we are back to, it's not a correction, it's a clarification.
Oh, okay.
So remember way back when we were talking about sidecars and shotgun?
Yeah, riding. Yeah. Wow.
Yes.
He went
Yeah, he's
really
way
back.
back. Yeah, he went deep. So he had to tell me, because it was very important that he knew this, that the term shotgun comes from the olden days when we traveled by stagecoach. 2 guys sat up front, you know, on the front bench thing.
Yes.
And one would drive, if you will, and the other one held the shotgun in case of highway robbers.
Really?
That's why it's called shotgun.
Wow. Well, thank you, Julie's husband.
Thanks, Lucky.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
And I love when people say that's highway robbery.
Haha,
But that's yeah.
it is
yeah,
highway
there-
robbery. Well, it's
Imagine
not.
a time when you feared going off in your stagecoach because, you know, there weren't a lot of people around and you could actually get robbed.
Yeah. Some may argue that we have those fears today even.
Yeah, I mean, I guess carjacking, or even just walking down the street at night.
Yeah. The Wild West was the Wild West.
Well, you know, we live in the West, and it's pretty wild.
Yep.
I mean, I just the other night I was trying to watch TV, and there was a helicopter circling my house not just my house, but the block for like 4 hours.
We have those so much, you guys,
Yeah.
in LA. And you know what else we have in LA? I don't know about people in other states, but we have an average of one car chase on TV every single day.
Yeah, I don't watch those. I don't.
I do.
Do you? See,
Yeah, it's a guilty thing. Yeah.
I only hear it when I'm in traffic, and
I can't look away.
no, it's about like, oh, I want to avoid that area because I'm in
Yes.
traffic and I don't want to get in
Yes.
trouble, or have it. Honestly, it's not even about safety. It's more about like I just don't want to get stuck in that mess.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, if I see it, I for some reason I can't. I have to see it through to the end.
I think the last car chase that I watched was like when OJ did the slow car chase when he was running away in that Ford.
That was the last
Ford
one
Bronco.
you watched?
Yeah, because everyone was watching it and it was kind of a new thing. I don't remember that they broadcast a lot of car chases.
I think OJ invented the slow speed car chase.
Oh, thank God for OJ.
Thanks, OJ.
He's such a trailblazer. Well, this is modern life in Los Angeles, apparently.
Yep.
I think I live in a bubble because I don't. I mean, it's a bubble of my own making.
Yeah.
Because there's probably crime happening around me every day and I don't even see it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there is. Mm-hmm. But, I just walk around as if nothing's wrong.
Yeah.
And
Well, we all do. It's just part of life. We just have to be vigilant, I guess.
yes,
Yeah.
I think a healthy dose of denial is not a bad thing.
Yeah,
in that,
really.
like in order to just get
And
through the
some
day.
say ignorance is bliss.
A little bit.
Lord. All right, let's talk about some, good news in the adoptee community.
Oh.
New York State Senate finally has passed a historic bill for adoptee rights. It allows any adoptee over the age of 18 to obtain a certified copy of their original birth certificate.
Bravo, New York State.
Bravo. Adoptees have not been able to get their records since the 1930s. Now, it's still it was passed to be up for a vote, which we still have that hurdle.
Oh, so it's not official yet.
It's not official
okay.
yet. The Senate passed the bill. Passed the bill in a 53-6 vote. The bill is now up for a vote in the Assembly. Governor Andrew Cuomo has said that he supports the bill.
I would be interested to hear what
reasoning they have.
What reasoning the opposition has.
I can tell you what the reasoning is: privacy of the biological people.
Right.
Yeah.
But at one time that might have been a valid concern, but I feel like in this day and age and the way things are moving as far as privacy and everything's on the internet and DNA tests and all of that, it's really like, why are you trying to hide that?
Well, and here's the thing, and that's funny you said that, because we don't need our birth certificates anymore, really, because of DNA. I mean, they help. But so David Weprin, who's assemblyman from Queens, said the right of adoptees to access crucial information about their own lives is a human and civil right. It's time for New York, like many other states, to guarantee adoptees access to their original birth certificate so they can gain knowledge of their family history and medical background. And I think it was he who pointed out that, because we have DNA, that's still not a reason to not let us have our original birth certificates. There are birth certificates.
Yes.
They're what is.
It's a record of your birth. Yes.
It's a record of your birth.
Yeah.
And why is it that of all people we're not allowed to have something that
And arguably, the birth certificate for the individual who was born is more important to them than it is to the parents of the person, because because throughout your entire life, people will ask you for your birth certificate to prove that you exist and you are and your citizenship and all of that.
Yeah.
You can't get a passport without it. And I know that they give adoptees a birth certificate that is a fake one.
All I ever had was it was a partial birth certificate. Even it was not anything, but it just said, Julie Dixon Jackson was born on this date. It didn't say, mine didn't say who my parents were. It didn't say who my adoptive parents were. It just said she was born on such and such a date.
It's amazing that.
So I didn't have any parents at all, apparently.
But it's amazing that would even be accepted in this day and age as proof of as who you are.
Well, it wouldn't here. This was in Australia.
Yeah,
so.
but what I mean is, you can't open a bank account without a birth certificate nowadays, or a passport, or something like that, or Social Security card. All of those things, especially since 9/11, they're so much more strict about what the name has to match exactly, and all that.
Yeah.
So to think that you could bring in what is essentially a fake birth certificate to prove who you
And
are.
and they're like, oh, okay.
And everyone's just supposed to pretend that that's what really happened. And you're right. It belongs to the person who was born. It is a record of your birth.
Mm-hmm.
And, your parents, your birth parents have their own as well. So everyone should have one.
Right.
And good for you, New York State.
Yes, finally, New York State. So you know what else is interesting? People think that once they get their original birth certificates, they're going to have all their answers. That's not necessarily true. I've had many, many cases where I have an original birth certificate and the name on it, I would say it's 50-50. The name on it is not the real name, or at least partially not the real name.
You mean, like a mistake, or it's just...
Oh, no, they make up a different name. They could lie.
Why? Why would someone do that?
Because they were afraid of being found. Or it was the shame. They didn't want, again, that would be record of them having a child out of wedlock.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, and so they didn't want any kind of paper trail if they could control it at all.
I would like to think that those days are over, but I'm willing to bet you that they're not, and that people still would try. There's still that shame, even though it may not have the stigma that it once did.
But I mean, the majority of adoptions are open adoptions now, anyway. So everybody's involved. So the days of the secrets are gone. They really are. I mean, I'd like to think they are in most cases.
Well, when you say that most adoptions are open now, where are there adoptions that are not open? Are there still
private adoptions?
Oh, private, yeah.
Yeah, that go through lawyers, and just like a doctor will contact a lawyer, or parents will go through a private lawyer that, and they want to keep it completely confidential, and that's their option. But again, that's not fair to.
I wonder how that works when you say, like I have a friend who adopted a baby girl from China when the child is coming from another country. I wonder how they deal with the birth certificates for that.
Probably the same way as they. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
That's a
you
good
know
question.
What? I'm going to throw that out to you listeners. If there's anybody who has adopted or is an adoptee from another country that is not the United States.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Julie, you're from Australia, but you were adopted in Australia
Yes.
as well. You were adopted in the country of your birth.
Yes.
I just mean as far as an
international adoptions.
Yes. Thank you for putting a term to it.
There you go. Those are called international
I suppose
adoptions.
I could call my friend and ask her, but
Yeah.
It's more fun to ask you guys.
That is a good question. I'm curious as to what they have there. Going back really quickly to people using fake names on the birth certificates, I've had a couple just this week that the name on one gentleman that I've been helping, the name on his birth certificate, it didn't sound quite right, and I sensed that it was incorrect, and I can usually figure out that it's incorrect pretty quickly just by the names and the DNA matches.
Okay.
Because that's got to be somewhere in there, like, fourth cousin or closer. And it wasn't, but it turned out when I solved it that probably solved it, and I think because of this I have solved it, that the name was the mother's middle name and last initial. So the name was her initials.
I see. So
basically.
she kind of put a little clue in there.
Exactly. It was a little clue, which I've seen a lot of that. Like somebody used a different name, but it was the county that they lived in.
Well, when you think about it, if you were sort of, how do I put this? At the last minute, someone said, what's your name? And you didn't think ahead of it time that you wanted to make a fake name.
Yeah.
You would think of something that you knew. You'd be like, I'm, your mother's maiden name, or some other name of somebody you know. You wouldn't just pick something out of the blue. You would pick something.
Yeah, it has to be something that comes readily to your consciousness.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I always picture The Usual Suspects. Do you remember that movie?
Kaiser Soze.
Kaiser Soze. Do you remember? I'm not going to give a spoiler alert.
I have never seen The Usual Suspects. I think I have talked about this before.
Oh, on this podcast?
On this podcast.
Oh, well then. We'll skip ahead.
I need to see it.
No, but there's a point. There's a part where a character is using. They figure out that he's using names from like a blackboard behind him. To make up a story.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Well, I mean, spoiler alert. The
I
movie's
should probably
30
watch it.
years old.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's a time limitation on spoilers.
You mean Rick and Ilsa don't get together at the end of Casablanca?
Wait, they don't. All right, let's take a break. Okay, so let's talk about researching using surnames.
Yes, sir. Name.
So this is something that comes up for me often, and a lot of people feel like a surname is written in blood. Get it? And that you can't veer from a surname that you've been told, and that gets us into a lot of trouble.
Right. Because, as we talked about in the last segment, people,
yes,
lie.
People change their names, people lie. So one of the biggest misconceptions is...
misconception. Julie, if you were a drag queen, that would be your name.
Oh, my gosh!
I'm Misconception.
That's a fantastic drag queen name.
I'm sure someone has it, don't you think?
Yeah, they have to. Yeah. I used to want to be misunderstood.
Oh, that's kind of good.
That's pretty good, huh?
Yeah.
And then I could sing, "Oh Lord, please don't let me be misunderstood," in the talent portion of the contest. And they. This is a fantasy I had in my mind. I would sing that for the misunderstood pageant, and I would lose because I asked them not to let me be misunderstood.
Oh my God. That's quite a complicated fantasy.
Are we all afraid that that's where I just went?
No, I'm not afraid because
Okay.
I have a drag queen name that I would come up with too. That I always thought if I was going to be a drag queen, that's what I would do.
What is it?
Courtesy Flush.
Well, wouldn't it be a drag queen? Curtis E. Flush.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. No, because like January Jones from Mad Men.
Yeah.
Courtesy Flush. I like that somebody's name is Courtesy.
Oh, I thought you were doing Curtis E.
Oh, it could.
Flush.
I guess it could be. Oh, look at you breaking it into 3 names. I had it into 2. I never thought of that. No, it's Courtesy. Like I'm Courtesy Flush. Oh, you know what? I also had another one.
What?
Moist Towelette. And she would walk around handing out little moist towelettes, like in the prepackaged ones.
That's funny.
Yeah, someday.
We digress.
I have to shave off my beard.
You think? Just put a little wax on it. No one will notice. Okay. So anyway, surnames.
Oh, that's what we were talking about. Oh, my God.
People assume that because you match on the last name that is how you were related. That actually also plays into our story time this week.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm. The one that we've been listening to over the last 2 weeks. But anyway.
And here I thought our theme was international adoptions.
So many. Oh, yeah, that's true. What happened to that?
Well, maybe we'll come back to it.
We always come
You
back to
never know.
it. We're like the boomerang of podcasts.
You guys listening think that we have everything all planned out. As you can tell now, we just really kind of just go with the flow. Oh, we go from surnames to drag queens to dogs to international adoptions.
I think if they're still listening, they're okay with it. Right. Okay, so as I started to say, people assume that because you match on the last name, that is how you were related.
Right.
Right. Then people perpetuate this false belief by copying the tree information without validating it and not identifying your real ancestors. Remember, genealogy is about finding out the truth and not just adding names to a tree because the truth is in your genes.
That's true.
Yes.
Some wise woman once told me that.
Right.
I can't remember her name. What was her surname?
I have an example of that, actually, a case that I'm working on right now.
Oh, tell it.
So my client, we'll call her Susie, has a 1600 centimorgan match with a man who is considerably older than her. He could be either an uncle or a half-sibling.
Okay.
His son and granddaughter also match her, and they all want to know if his mother is Susie's grandmother.
We'll call her Susie Q.
Susie Q. Wait, did I call her Susie or Cindy in the beginning?
Susie.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, Susie Q. Susie. Whatevs. Okay.
It was a good little snack cake that I liked when I was a kid.
Oh.
You never had Susie Q's?
I grew up in Australia.
Oh, that's right. You
Yeah.
had weird.
I had Musk sticks.
Oh, yeah. I'm so sorry.
I loved them. Okay, so we know who the older gentleman's mother was. And in my research, it was pretty easy to see that she does not share those matches. So their match has to be paternal.
Okay.
And they both know who their mothers are. Mm-hmm. So they are connected. So they're either half siblings or uncle niece. They have 2 second cousin matches. Both have a common name in their line, one that is probably their paternal surname. One had a father that grew up in an orphanage as well. So that's a problem. Mm-hmm. And his mother was supposedly a certain person, but they didn't know who his father was. There were rumors that it was a priest. In this line, the common name goes back to second great grandmother, born in 1853.
Very Thornbirds, isn't it?
It is indeed. But there is a name in there that is common with other matches. Okay? The other one has a grandmother with that name, with the common name.
Okay.
When I plug in everyone to the What Are the Odds tool, WATO, on DNA Painter, no hypotheses are possible when I put them in the place that they are supposed to be according to their trees.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So they are related. They match way too highly for them to be related in the way that they are. So the match on one of them has to be closer. The connection has to be closer. So I've come to the conclusion that because the first one doesn't know who his grandfather was, that the grandfather is probably the connection. Even though the great-great-grandmother has that name on her line. That's not where the connection is. The name is there, but not the connection. So people can have the same name,
right,
but not be related, is what I'm saying.
Sure. Well, you look at all the Smiths.
Precisely.
Yes.
Precisely. Oh, I hate it when I get a Smith case. I just got one this week.
Did you? I was going to say, some like really simple name. You go, oh, please don't let there be another John Smith.
Somebody finally got her birth certificate, her original birth certificate. I've been working on this case for months. It's very difficult. And the name that came back is Smith. So, because the second match is slightly higher, I'm assuming that his tree is more accurate. And I'm assuming it's correct. And indeed, when I remove the first gentleman from the hypotheses altogether, everything falls into place.
Oh, wow.
So I have to take that match and take it out of the equation because his tree is wrong. Right. And it's of no help to me.
That's so interesting. It's really like a puzzle, isn't it?
It is.
And you're sort of gaming out what's going to happen next. You know, like what if I take this person out? What does that do? Right?
Oh, yeah. That's how WATO works.
Right?
It's a very cool tool. So coming to that conclusion is by no means proof of what the connection is. I'm getting closer and I'm reaching out to family to DNA test, basically. But had I known that the connection or the name that was further up in the tree was probably not the connection, I would have gotten there much sooner.
Right.
So it was a false flag. It was like a red herring.
That's part of the game, isn't it? Like trying to figure out which of these things do not belong.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like, oh gosh, what was that game show? To Tell the Truth? Do you remember this?
I love that game show.
Yeah, and there were like 3 people that would say, I am, Joe Schmo. I am Joe Schmo. No, I am Joe Schmo. And they had to figure out which one was the real one.
Right. Right.
But they were false flags, right?
Yeah.
The other two.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I said false flags, didn't I?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Oh,
Phew.
wow.
Just making sure. No slurs on this podcast, people.
Well, except for when we've had some drinks.
Yeah, then we just slur a little like that. But we never say any kind of horrible slur about somebody, unless it's true.
Let's take a break and talk about that. It's the time in our show where we tell a story.
Please tell me a story, Julie.
I'm going to let Jenna tell you the third part of her story.
Oh my God, that's right. We're halfway through, and we've got one more, another quarter, and then.
Yep.
Oh wow.
So this is part 3 of Jenna Robertson's epic odyssey. When last we left off, she had found a probable half sister, and was reaching out to her, and we'll take it from there.
Let's find out what happens.
Okay.
And I said, I think we're related. I told her that I'd been doing genealogy and I'd done my DNA. And I think that I think you're my half sister.
Wow, you went right there.
I did.
Okay.
I did. And it's all because of the empowerment and hope I felt seeing that one little rainbow picture, Julie. Also, I had the feeling that she was an only child.
Okay.
So her being an only child and me being an only child, I just went there because I just assumed she was going to feel like me. That, she had always grown up maybe wanting a sister, and she had always, well, you know what? It turns out she hadn't. And she was very responsive to me quickly.
Uh-huh.
And she answered my first email within about a day. And she said, I want you to know I got your email. I need to process it, but I know the anxiety of sending such a thing, so I wanted to let you know I got it. I'll be back in touch.
Oh, that's nice.
It was nice.
Yeah.
I didn't take that as being brushed off.
Right.
I took it as reassuring that she was processing this information.
Uh-huh.
It was great. So I waited. And the email that I got back was exactly what I needed it to be and exactly what I would have expected. Wow, this is kind of overwhelming. I didn't see that coming. Had no reason to see it coming. Could you tell me what you found? Could you tell me how you got to this conclusion? And by the way, at this point, I still only suspected he was my dad. I couldn't prove it.
Yeah, okay. Because you didn't have any, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't put my mom and him together. I couldn't prove anything.
Right. And frankly, even if, the DNA was pointing at one of those two brothers.
Correct.
But she can, I've said this many times before. I have a twin first cousin. So.
Oh, see?
Yeah.
And now I know these things.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have contacted my cousin and say, hey, we're cousins.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have. I maybe still would have contacted her because I was pretty confident. But now I know that maybe I shouldn't have been, but I was.
Okay.
So she replied to me again, and it was just so kind. And she didn't tell me she didn't believe me. She didn't disregard my situation or my concerns, but she was just like, whoa, how, do you have proof? Wow. Got it. So I probably overwhelmed her with all of the screenshots and math and probabilities and logic and overwhelmed her. And I don't remember if she replied or not, but I'm pretty sure she did not reply before I sent her back another message within that first week.
Okay.
And, I forget what I said, but it was basically more proof. And, I don't mean to bug you. I know you want time. And I just wanted to show you that this is why I think, this is more proof. I think we're related because of X, Y, and Z. I don't even remember what it was. So I'm feeling a little rejected. Not that she was unkind, because she wasn't. I'm feeling a little rejected and not really you have all this adrenaline.
Yes.
And it felt like I was going to solve this damn mystery. It wasn't even like it was personally me anymore. I was just going to solve this mystery.
Yeah.
I was texting a friend, my best friend from high school. We've been friends since I was about 17. And I'm texting her about this situation, about everything going on. And she's just being so sweet and reassuring. And she's my, she's the sister that I did not have. And we are that close. And it hit me one day that if anybody knows my secrets from high school, it's her.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Okay.
Uh-huh.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank goodness for Facebook, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So I am still friends with the daughter of my mom's high school best friend. And they were both single moms at the same time. Her daughter came along about 2 years after me. We grew up together. We're still friends on social media today. And I thought, if anybody knows my stuff, it's my friend. If anybody knows my mom's stuff, it's this friend from high school.
Yes.
I thought, this is my last hope. It really is. This is, if anybody's going to know my answers, it's going to be this friend. So I texted her daughter on Facebook and I said, look, is this weird? I really need to ask your mom a question.
How would
weird? She take this? Yeah, right. Well, it's weird.
Yes, it is weird, but you just hope that they're just weird enough to accept it.
To know you well enough to know that it's true, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So when I texted my friend, she said, I'm going through the same thing. I found my dad a couple years ago. We're friends on Facebook, but he won't tell his children. Of course I'm going to talk to my mom for you. So I had this instant ally. So she contacted her mom and said, basically, hey, Mom, remember Jen? She wants to send you a couple questions on Facebook. Make sure to check them. And so her mom said, of course. So I sent these deep, heartfelt questions. I kept it quick. I kept it simple. I gave names and just said, does this guy's name mean anything to you? Well, it went unchecked and unanswered.
Oh.
So I tried to give it time. I knew I was being impatient, but I can't, make everybody else be as, make it a big deal for them as it is for me.
Yeah.
So I texted my friend again, her daughter, and I said, your mom hasn't seen my messages yet. Is there any way you can ask her to check them? And she said, she didn't answer you yet? And I said, no. So she talks to her mom and she comes back and she said, oh, my mom didn't recognize your name because it was my married name.
Okay.
I'm like, all right, great. So I'm waiting. She doesn't check them still. So it's been about 2 or 3 weeks now, and I'm dying just to know this answer if she knows this man's name. Does it mean anything to you? I finally asked her, please, can you call your mom? She'd offered to do this, but I said I wanted to do it myself. Yeah. But now I'm just like, yes, can you call your mom? Ask her if this name means anything to her. She called me back there, or she texted me back the next day and said, yeah, my mom recognized him. Your mom and my mom used to work with him in high school at this restaurant. She thinks he was the cook.
Oh, my gosh.
And I said, what? Like the bottom fell out. I was so excited that she recognized his name.
Yeah.
I was so excited that she was able to place him in a location that made sense.
Is it a name that is slightly unusual?
It is slightly unusual.
Okay.
And it's unusual enough that I knew she should know that name. That it couldn't be a coincidence.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
She should know that name.
Mm-hmm.
So I immediately got on the phone with my mom, and I was pumped, and I had this adrenaline, and I was so excited we could place him with her in the same location. And I got on the phone and I said, Mom, don't get mad. I contacted your friend, and she was able, I wanted to know if she recognized his name. And my mom said to me, I didn't even say another thing. My mom said, you never told me his full name. You just gave me a last name.
Oh.
And I paused for a second and I thought, all right, now is she setting me up? I was trying to, in my head, I'm processing. Is she setting me up to, I couldn't quite figure it out. Is this going to somehow be my fault that, I couldn't figure it out.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, so I'm, nothing's going to throw me here. I'm going to do this conversation correctly. And so I told her his name, and she said, yeah, we used to work together in high school, and maybe he was a manager. And I thought, okay, wait a minute. In my head, I'm thinking they couldn't have talked. She could not have talked to her high school best friend because the details, the names were the same, the location was the same, but the details were just off enough
right,
that I knew they hadn't
right
talk to each other about it.
Yes.
So
they hadn't synchronized their stories. Right.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I was silent for a moment because I didn't expect her to kind of come clean like that. I didn't expect, and it totally was my fault. I hadn't given her the full name. I'd only given her his last name. And she started kind of talking about, I remember working with him and we didn't work together very long. And I had broken up with another boyfriend. And I thought, she remembers. This is true. That is my birth father.
So she's DNA admitting to actually being with him.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Admitted it. She wasn't trying to hide it. She wasn't trying to make up a story. She kind of laughed about it like, what? This doesn't like it. I could tell it had never occurred to her that this could possibly be true.
Oh my gosh.
And in my head, I was worrying that she was trying to cover something up and maybe not tell me the truth. Really, I 100% believe that she just did not register who this guy was.
Sure.
No secrets. And one of the first things she said was, but there was a paternity test.
Right.
With, my birth certificate dad. So really, she never gave it another thought.
Right.
Ever.
Yeah. Why would she?
I fully believe that.
That makes sense. That does make sense. Okay.
It totally does. So I have my own issues about being an only child from a young single mom, and it was volatile and all of that stuff. So I have a lot of blame and stuff in my head still, a lot of things I'm processing, but this was not one of them.
Right.
I 100% believe she was not pulling anything over my eyes. So I hung up the phone very excited because now I could, place them together. I could, I felt I had proof. Now I had proof.
Yeah.
So one of the first things I did was I texted my cousin and I said, look, I think I figured this out. I solved the mystery. This man, this uncle, the younger uncle is my father, and this is how I know. And her reply to me almost immediately was, welcome to the family.
Oh.
So I felt this huge load off. If I was not going to have a dad out of this, and I wasn't looking for a daddy, I was just looking for someone to believe me.
I've said that
acceptance.
so many times.
What I was looking for and hoping for was a sister. So that was a little more nerve-wracking for me. So when I had texted her again, and I still hadn't gotten a full response back from her yet, I sent her an email and I said, look, I can now place my mom and your dad. I now know pretty confidently that your dad is my dad, and this is how I know. And I texted her, and she emailed me back fairly quickly, and she said, well, that seems kind of definitive. And then I just started telling her about myself, and I told her lots of things that I think I was putting out there. If you're going to reject me for any of these things, these are kind of my non-negotiables. And I didn't say that.
I love that. Okay.
If I'm not good enough because of A, B, and C, then this is just not worth it to me. Looking back, I know that's what I was doing.
Okay, I can't wait to hear what happens next. Can you?
No, I can't wait. So there's one more part.
There's one more part.
Okay, because I keep being left on the edge. Like, when am I going to get this whole story?
That is the point, Richard. In case you haven't noticed.
It's a page turner, a barn burner.
I was trying to think of another earner rhyme, but I don't know. I couldn't think of one. Nope.
Well, while you're thinking of one, I'll tell you about myself.
Please do.
I am Richard Castle. I am not only the co-host and producer, I write jingles now.
Yay!
And I'm a songwriter. And you can go follow me on the Twitter at Castle Songs, or go to my website, richardcastle.com, although I haven't put our theme song up there yet because I want it to be exclusively here.
For our listeners alone.
That's right.
Nice. Well done. I'm Julie Dixon Jackson. You can find me on Twitter at Jules Jackson, all one word, 2 O's. Find the podcast at Cutoff Jeans Pod. We have a Facebook group called Cutoff Jeans Podcast. It's a private group or a closed group because some people like anonymity, but you just answer a question and I'll probably let you in.
Yeah, it's good to keep the riffraff out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We want it to be exclusive just for you, listeners.
That's right. We're all about exclusivity.
Not really, because I'm a member.
Such a good point.
Hey, Julie.
What?
Where is the truth? I seem to have misplaced it.
Richard, the truth is in your jeans.